You secretly loved him for 10 years. And finally, you two got together, only to find out you were just a substitute for his ex-girlfriend. Even the wedding he prepared for you was filled with her presence, and he couldn't even remember your nut allergy. Yet, when you walked away, his eyes welled up, only because he finally realized that you had loved him for an entire youth. I've been with Luke Dawson for 3 years. He's always compliant and never argues with me. My friends all envy me for having such an emotionally stable boyfriend. But I've peeked into his past with his ex-girlfriend. They argued, broke down, and then reconciled. He was hysterical for her, and ecstatic for her. The idea of breaking up was planted that day. The seed broke through the soil on a rainy day. I was sitting in his car and deliberately played a voice message from a male colleague, Jennifer Delaney. No matter how many times you reject me, I won't give up. The other party knew I had a boyfriend, but he relentlessly pursued me. I rejected him, avoided him, but he became more persistent. I expected Luke to say something, but he just chuckled and teased. Quite charming. There were no other emotions or words. It was as if my being pursued had nothing to do with him. I asked him, "Why do you never get jealous?" "Why should I be jealous? I trust you." Always rational and calm. He never let his emotions be swayed by me. I asked him again, "What's your bottom line when I interact with other men?" He held the steering wheel, looking straight ahead. "No physical infidelity, right? It's okay if I fall for someone else, isn't it?" He glanced at me. "If you fall for someone else, tell me. I'm willing to respect you." My punches all landed on cotton. This familiar sense of powerlessness has been my daily experience for the past 3 years. But after seeing those things, why did it suddenly become unbearable? A sudden impact came from the rear of the car. He quickly threw his arm across to shield me. Fortunately, there was no car in front, so no chain collision. He and I got out to check the situation. A bickering couple got out of a Porsche from the car behind. The man looked upset. "It's all your fault for arguing. Now we've crashed. Why am I arguing with you? Don't you have any idea?" "All right, Jessica Miller. Are you done or not? People are watching." The woman turned her gaze to us. As our eyes met, Luke's phone suddenly fell to the ground. His hands, capable of performing delicate surgical operations with steady precision, couldn't even hold a phone steady at this moment. I bent down to pick it up for him. Suddenly, I felt like laughing at the excessive coincidences of life. A week ago, I had seen this woman's face on this very phone. A week later, she stood before me, as if to remind me that their fate was not yet over, and my wedding with Luke was approaching. Luke's G-Wagon was sturdy enough. This collision only scraped off a bit of paint. Compared to this minor scratch, the other party's Porsche was severely damaged. The man said, "Sorry, my girlfriend just argued with me, and I wasn't paying attention for a moment. Shall we go through insurance?" Luke waved his hand. "Never mind, it's fine." The rain intensified, and he unfolded one side of his trench coat, shielding me in his arms and escorting me back into the car. The car continued to drive. In the rearview mirror, Jessica's figure gradually shrank and shrank, but the longing in her eyes grew larger and larger. I could see it, and Luke must have seen it all too. The rain pattered on the car window. I glanced at Luke, trying to find something on his face. He drove calmly, showing no sign of anything amiss. The car stopped at the destination. He said, "We're here." I was stunned for a moment and rolled down the window. "I just got in the car here. Luke, I'm going home after work, not to work." He had just picked me up from the law firm's entrance. And now he was taking me back to the same spot. He paused, closed the window, and restarted the car. Dusk filled the sky, and traffic was bustling. My heart felt as congested as this lane. There were no words exchanged in their reunion, yet I heard one thunderclap after another in the silence. Luke and I began with a blind date that went awry. I went into the wrong private room, and he mistook me for someone else. We sat together and chatted, from initial awkwardness to becoming more and more compatible as we talked. We both love Nolan's movies, and our favorite author is Yasunari Kawabata. Even our shared, somewhat dull hobby of fishing was a rare match. An hour passed without us realizing it. We exchanged WeChat contacts. It wasn't until his actual blind date arrived that we realized we had been chatting with the wrong person. Afterward, Luke didn't delete my WeChat. I also kept him in my contacts. We circled back and met again at another blind date. This time, we didn't mistake each other. We sat face to face again. He curved his lips. "It seems we really do have some fate," I asked him. "Did your last blind date not work out?" He countered. "Did yours not work out either?" "It's not easy to find someone who likes Nolan, Yasunari Kawabata, and fishing." He smiled. "So, do you want to give it a try with me?" A light sentence, yet it heavily carved its way into my heart, starting our 3-year relationship. The car passed the spot where the rear-end collision had just occurred. Through the window, I saw Jessica still standing there. She had been left there by her boyfriend, crying alone. Like a wilting rose drifting in the wind and rain. Luke's hands on the steering wheel tensed for a moment. The car braked beside her. Luke quickly unbuckled his seatbelt. He got out with a grim face, his steps hurried as he ran over. An angry roar came. "Jessica, can't you see it's raining so heavily? You've just been standing here getting drenched for an hour." Calm as he usually was, it was rare for him to lose his composure like this. I pursed my lips, quietly watching him get angry in front of me for another woman. Jessica lowered her head, sobbing. "Luke, you would never leave me by the roadside like this." In the rearview mirror, I saw Luke's back gradually becoming soaked, and his hands trembling slightly. One of them always stayed in place, while the other circled back to the same spot. I suddenly felt like I was the outsider. Jessica got into the car. She sat in the back seat and took the tissue he offered her. His gaze finally turned to me. "She's my friend. Let's drop her off first." If she was a friend, why didn't he greet her earlier? I didn't ask. Perhaps because I knew the answer. On the way, we passed a traditional Chinese medicine store, and he got out to get my medicine. Jessica's voice came from behind. "I'm his ex-girlfriend." Seeing that I didn't speak, she then said faintly, "Love really is like the previous generation planting trees for the next generation to enjoy the shade." Her words carried a strong sense of resentment. After all, she and Luke had been in love for 5 years. In terms of duration or intensity of feelings, I was at a disadvantage. Jessica didn't know that a week ago, she had messaged Luke late at night asking to get back together. He had quit smoking for a long time, but he uncharacteristically smoked half a pack on the balcony. His phone had no password. He was so open that I never had a single doubt, but I uncharacteristically peeked at his phone. He told her, "I'm getting married soon." It's not that I love my girlfriend, nor is it that I don't love you. It's just a neutral, "I'm getting married soon." I wrote down her WeChat ID. Then, I followed the clues to find her other social media accounts. She kept every trace of their love. They met in college, each other's first love. He gave her custom-made couple Legos, spending 3 days and nights building them for her. He gave her handwritten love letters, one each year. He gave her a star named after her. He also gave me expensive gifts. But every gift he gave her held a thoughtfulness I never received. When she interacted with other men, he would deliberately assert his claim in front of them. He wouldn't let her talk to other men, or smile at them. She'd tease him, saying he was pickled in a vat of vinegar. He'd seize the opportunity to kiss her. Does your kiss taste sour?" When she argued and threatened to break up, he'd tightly hug her from behind before she could even take 3 steps. With red eyes, he'd say, "Jessica, don't ever think about leaving me." Their love was a sea of passion and hatred, and their breakup was messy and drawn out. Like a thief, I stole their memories, then pieced them together, bit by bit, into a Luke I didn't know at all. So, even the usually steady and reserved Luke can sweet-talk people. So, even the rational and calm Luke can beg not to break up. So, even the cold and indifferent Luke can passionately love someone. He can be this vibrant. It's just that he never showed me that clumsy side. I turned my head to look out the window. The rain had stopped, and the ground was wet. Luke walked over, carrying a large bag of traditional Chinese medicine. He had broad shoulders and a narrow waist, a tall and straight posture, and walked with an air of confidence. If only he were just an ordinary blind date. All the conditions laid out on the table, he was more than qualified. Anyone would see him as the perfect candidate for marriage. But amidst all the practical considerations, I was demanding his heart. I was committing a major taboo in the blind dating market. I averted my gaze and said flatly, "I don't like sitting in the shade. I'm afraid of the cold." "I don't want to sit in the shade. I just want to lie in the warm sunshine. I want to argue with him, laugh with him, and mess around with him. I want him to love me passionately and clumsily. The dense shade blocks out the sun, but I crave the scorching sun." He first dropped Jessica off at home. Then the car finally stopped in front of my house. "Let's break up." The dampness from outside the car window seeped into my eyes. So, when I said those words, my vision was blurry. He held me back, not letting me get out of the car, insisting on a reason. We met through a blind date, dated for 3 years, and our wedding date was set. Everything was falling into place, just one step away from completion. It was perfectly reasonable for him to ask for a reason. I opened my mouth and asked him, Which do you think is more important? Suitability or love? He didn't hesitate. Suitability. My nose suddenly stung, and my voice finally choked up. Why can't both be important? I once saw a quote online. Stable emotions and intense love cannot coexist, because love never makes people rational. He knew what I meant, but he couldn't answer. He could only choose silence. So I answered for him. Because love makes people lose their minds, and marriage strives for stability. Luke, I hate your rationality. I hate my suitability. I got out of the car and walked home step by step. I suddenly remembered a time she broke up with him. She got out of the car and walked less than 5 steps before he hugged her from behind. That time, he choked up and begged her not to leave. She said on social media, "The person who truly loves you won't let you leave easily." I slowed my pace, moving little by little. I felt like I had walked a lifetime in that short distance. I had walked a lifetime without any obstacles. The next evening, there was a friends gathering. I was distraught and lost several games. I couldn't drink anymore, so I compromised and chose truth or dare. My friend asked me, "What was your 18th birthday wish?" I lowered my eyes and picked up the wine bottle to pour myself another full glass. I wanted to chug it down, but my friend snatched it away. Hey, no more drinking. We just agreed to choose truth. You have to tell the truth, or lightning will strike you. In the private room, a nostalgic Cantonese song was softly playing. I hope you'll be with me, even if we're mismatched. It'll be fun. While you're happy, I'll ask who you like. But you ask if I mean a romantic partner. If it's that kind, I'm afraid of getting tired. My tears suddenly burst forth. I remember chasing after him for 3 years in high school. I remember that in my freshman year of college, he got a girlfriend in another city. After that, whenever I saw someone who looked like him on campus, my eyes would inexplicably well up with tears. His silhouette became my long-lasting after effect. When we met again later, I finally mustered the courage to walk towards him. That day, I deliberately went into the wrong private room, because in my heart, he was the right person. I had a crush on him for so many years, and I knew all his preferences inside out. I deliberately catered to him. For my second blind date, an uncle from the same hospital and department as him enthusiastically introduced me to someone. He asked me what kind of person I was looking for. I aimed all my conditions at one person. So, the only person who could appear before me that day was him, and only him. I finally heard my own broken cry. My 18th birthday wish was, I hope Luke sees me. Later, Luke saw me, but his eyes didn't see me. After sobering up, my head was throbbing. There was still some hangover tea at home. It was the kind I usually prepared for Luke. When he wasn't on duty, he would drink with friends. He wasn't a heavy drinker, and sometimes when he drank too much, his friends would call me to pick him up. Every time I brought him home, I would make him hangover tea. He would watch me busy myself, always with a hint of guilt. I should just quit drinking. I'm always troubling you. I said, It's okay. I don't mind the trouble. At that time, I genuinely thought about making him hangover tea for the rest of my life. I got up and made a cup for myself. Luke's message was on my phone. Seeing his name, my chest tightened. It took me a while to check it. It was sent at 10 last night. You can take back the breakup any time. I don't mind. If you still insist, I'll talk to both sets of parents. He wanted to take all the responsibility himself. Calling off the engagement was a big deal, and countless problems followed. The hotel, honeymoon, wedding planner, wedding photos. Not only were the deposits lost, but facing my parents was the real thorny issue. The decision was mine, and I had no reason to push him out to take the blame. So I replied to him, I'll tell them myself. I'll bear all the losses from our broken engagement. After a while, he replied, Jennifer, I don't care about these things. You don't need to do this. He was always gentle. When we first got together, I felt his gentleness was like waves crashing on my heart. Later, immersed in it, I realized those waves hitting my heart were cold and hard. At breakfast, the last memory before blacking out suddenly surfaced. Last night, my friend saw me drunk and crying hysterically, so she took it upon herself to grab my phone and try to call Luke. In a daze, I pressed down on her phone. Don't call him. We broke up. Word spread quickly. I soon received a call from my best friend. She immediately asked me, Are you really going through with it? We were desk mates in high school. All these years, my feelings were an open secret. She saw it all. On the day of our high school graduation, she took a photo of me. She painstakingly managed to get Luke into the background. That was our first photo together. I was making a peace sign in front of the camera, and he was passing by behind me, leaving a silhouette. It was just a silhouette, but I cherished it dearly. At that time, my best friend said, "This is my graduation gift to you." "Now," she said with a hint of regret that the wedding gift she had carefully prepared couldn't be given. I asked for a long time but couldn't find out what it was, but thinking about it, it didn't matter anymore. I personally told my parents my decision. My mom jumped up from the sofa. "Do you know that a man like Luke, once he's gone for good? If you put him back on the market, he'll be snatched up in a minute. You're almost 30. What are you thinking?" My silent father stepped forward just in time. He pushed my chattering mother back into the kitchen. Amidst the roar of the range hood, I vaguely heard my father sigh. He said, "This box of nuts is what our daughter brought home last time. Luke bought them. They've been together for 3 years. And he doesn't even remember our daughter doesn't eat these nuts." Sigh. I guess it's good that the engagement is off. After getting past my parents, Luke and I handled the remaining matters. I returned to living alone. Life was peaceful, and surprisingly, I felt more at ease than before. What does it feel like to be with someone you've secretly loved for years? It feels like crossing a vast ocean in a small boat. I was constantly worried about losing him, always fearing he would leave. I guarded my small boat, terrified of it capsizing at any moment. Now that the storm had finally overturned the boat, I felt a sense of peace. Luke would occasionally appear in my WeChat Moments like list, but we never saw each other again. We each returned to our own paths. I dedicated myself to work and lived earnestly. Life rushed forward like a tide. Half a year later, I ran into Luke on the street. Jessica was clinging to his arm like a little bird. He was smiling, strolling with her down the street. I wasn't too surprised. They still had a place for each other in their hearts. It was only natural for them to get back together. But I couldn't help but feel a pang of pain. Still, I was glad. I was glad I let go in time. He had never truly smiled in the 3 years he was with me. At least now he was genuinely happy. They didn't see me. I averted my gaze and continued walking. Those 3 years would be swallowed up in his vast life, and I would slowly forget the length of his silhouette. Another month passed. I went to see City Court for a hearing and ran into my college classmate, Jason Smith. He said to me, "Jennifer, long time no see." Coincidentally, he was the opposing lawyer. The hearing was in a small room. The plaintiffs' and defendants' tables were almost touching. Jason whispered to me, "This distance is close enough to punch each other." And he turned out to be right. During the hearing, the defendant lunged at the plaintiff and started fighting. In the chaos, the defendant almost injured me. Luckily, Jason was quick and pulled the defendant away. Afterwards, he and I, as lawyers for both sides, were reprimanded by the judge. He sighed. "I must have done something terrible in my past life to study law in this one." I followed behind him, unable to help but laugh. He stopped and looked back at me. "Jennifer, you won't cry when you see my back now, will you?" Jason was the boy in college whose back looked a lot like Luke's. One day in freshman year after class, Jason was walking in front of me. I vaguely followed him all the way. He occasionally looked back, seeing my red eyes. A hint of confusion flashed in his eyes. Since we weren't in the same class, I wasn't very familiar with him. This was the path back to the dorm, every time. So, at first, he didn't think much of it, until a few more days passed, and he and another boy were walking ahead. The boy suddenly pulled him and turned around, heading towards the basketball court. They only stopped at the entrance of the basketball court. The boy pointed at me, who had followed them. "See? I told you she was following you. When did you get yourself into a romantic entanglement? And you even made her cry." Jason had a "seen a ghost" expression. That was the first time Jason and I formally met. Later, I told him the truth. He held the photo of Luke's back and marveled. It really does look like him. He and Luke were similar in height and build. Their walking postures were also very similar. But Luke was like a clear breeze and bright moon, gentle and reserved, while Jason was sunny and cheerful, free and unrestrained. They were completely different people. Later, Jason and I slowly became familiar. When I would gaze at his back, lost in thought, Jason would turn his head and call my name. "Jennifer, don't love someone who only shows you their back. Love someone who runs towards you, facing you." Before I left, Jason, as a good host, treated me to a meal. "I heard you're getting married soon. Congratulations on getting what you wished for." Actually, Jason pursued me in my sophomore year. At that time, my heart was always occupied by someone. I couldn't make space for any boy who showed interest in me, including him. Later, Jason voluntarily retreated to the position of a friend. I said softly, "The engagement is off. We broke up." His hand paused, and he raised an eyebrow. But he didn't ask me why. We said goodbye in front of the station. As I turned to leave, he called out to me, "Jennifer, I used to think I was too late, but maybe now I'm just in time. Can we give it a try?" I turned back and smiled at him. "We're almost 30. Can we still handle a long-distance relationship?" "Jason, that's not realistic." Sitting in the waiting room, I remembered asking Luke about the dilemma of suitability versus love. I demanded love from Luke, yet I used suitability as an excuse to gently reject Jason. How many detours and dead ends must we encounter in this life before we can reconcile these two questions? Half a month later, Jason personally delivered the answer to me. That morning, I walked into the law firm as usual. Passing by the office next door, I saw Jason sitting behind the desk. He had transferred to my law firm. He had moved everything he owned to my city. I thought that changing cities for someone was a crazy thing only young people would do. He made such a move at an age when he should have been seeking stability. I understood perfectly that he had no intention of turning back. I said, "Jason, you must be crazy." He came prepared with his answer. "Jennifer, I'm not here to force you to make a decision. Slowly getting closer to you is my sincerity. Whether you accept it or not is your freedom. If you never fall in love with me, you can string me along for a lifetime," he told me in college. "Don't love someone who only shows you their back. Love someone who runs towards you." He said it, and he did it. It turns out that the problem of suitability and mutual love wasn't that difficult after all, because love overcomes all obstacles. The problem Luke couldn't solve, Jason solved with ease. At that moment, my long, calm heart stirred. This time, it was my turn to return the favor and treat him to dinner. The waiter led us to our seats. Only after I sat down did I realize that Luke and Jessica were at the next table. Luke was the first to greet me. "Long time no see, Jennifer." Jessica also smiled at me. "What a coincidence. Is he your boyfriend?" Jason has always been a social butterfly. He immediately took over her words. "Not yet. I'm still pursuing her." Luke glanced at him, his eyes subtly shifting. Just as our dishes started to arrive, Luke at the next table answered a call, and his expression suddenly changed. "Grandma's gone missing. Let's not eat. Let's go look for her together." Jessica stopped him. "The old lady just went for a walk. You're too nervous." Luke frowned, his face looking a bit grim. "My grandma has Alzheimer's. Have you forgotten again?" Jessica had clearly forgotten, and she awkwardly withdrew her hand. I remembered something and called out to Luke. "Grandma should be wearing a GPS watch when she goes out. Check the app." I had bought that GPS watch for his grandma. It has a real-time positioning function, specifically designed for elderly people who are prone to getting lost. Luke quickly checked, and indeed located his grandma's position on the app. He immediately got up, giving me a grateful look before he left. "Jennifer, thank you." I was on my way to the restroom as they walked towards the door. So I heard Jessica say to him as they walked, "Don't you think her friend's back looks a lot like yours?" He paused before saying, "Really? I didn't notice." After dinner, I accompanied Jason to the supermarket. He had just moved and still needed to buy many things for his new home. It happened that the supermarket was having a promotion where you could enter a lucky draw if you spent over a certain amount. He bought a large bag of groceries and ended up with 3 chances to draw. The first 2 times, he only drew, "Thank you for your patronage." He handed the 3rd chance to me. I was incredibly lucky and immediately drew the grand prize, a double trip to Turkey. It was almost Labor Day, so Jason suggested, "Jennifer, let's go on a trip together. Free flights and accommodation, and I had won it." Of course, I didn't stand on ceremony with him. When I got home that evening, I received a message from Luke. "Grandma's been found. She missed you so much after not seeing you for so long that she went out looking for you by herself. Is Grandma okay?" "She's fine. Just a little scared. I'll go see her in a few days." He happened to be there the day I went to see Luke's grandma. His grandma had forgotten again about our broken engagement. She held my hand and affectionately called me her granddaughter-in-law. I didn't want to burst her bubble, so I just went along with it. As I was leaving, Luke asked me, "Are you free on May Day? Let me treat you to a meal. Thank you for what you did for Grandma." I shook my head and said I was going to Turkey with a friend. Luke and I had originally planned our honeymoon in Turkey. His eyes flickered. "Is it that friend you met at dinner last time?" He saw me nod and stammered, wanting to say something. After a long moment, he swallowed it back, just smiling at me. "Have a good trip." "Thank you." Jason and I spent 5 days in Turkey. He was a good travel companion. Throughout the trip, he took great care of me. In Istanbul, we visited the Museum of Innocence. I had read the book The Museum of Innocence a long time ago, but this was my first time actually stepping into the real-life museum. Inside, there was a pale yellow wall covered with 4,213 cigarette butts smoked by the female protagonist. The male protagonist had collected them and meticulously labeled them. Jason saw my eyes welling up and teased me for being sentimental. If I collected so many of your personal items, wouldn't you call me a pervert? No way. I'd be incredibly touched. Later, in Cappadocia, at dawn, we set off to ride a hot air balloon. Hundreds of hot air balloons ascended into the sky. I stood in the rising hot air balloon, with Cappadocia's fairy tale-like unique landscape beneath my feet. In this place on Earth that most resembles the moon, he showed me a video. It contained countless photos of me walking behind him. He had secretly recorded countless moments of me using his selfie camera. Jason leaned in and said, "Jennifer, I also have a museum of innocence. I like someone, and I've been waiting for her. Waiting for the day she no longer follows a silhouette." At that time, I just thought he was playing some game on his phone. I never imagined he was pointing the front camera at me. In those old days, when I was captivated by his silhouette, someone had deliberately slowed down for me. My eyes misted over. "You're a pervert, secretly taking so many ugly photos of me." "You're being a bit hypocritical. Picking on me because I haven't won a Nobel Prize?" The return flight was nearly 1 hour long. I was jolted awake from my sleep by a violent turbulence. After continuous shaking, the plane then violently swayed up and down, as if it would disintegrate in midair at any moment. Jason and I exchanged glances, realizing something was wrong. Many passengers pulled out their phones, preparing their last words. The air in the entire cabin was taut to the extreme. I opened my phone, my fingers trembling as I sent a farewell message to my best friend. Considering my father's high blood pressure, I didn't dare send it directly to my parents. If something were to happen, my best friend would convey it for me. At this time, it was nighttime in China, so she was probably asleep and hadn't seen it. I received no reply. The plane suddenly ascended rapidly. Clouds heavily slammed against the window beside me. Jason gripped my cold hand. I clutched back tightly, as if grasping a lifeline. In that moment between life and death, he asked me in a low voice, "Jennifer, will we be together?" The next second, the plane suddenly plummeted. I closed my eyes and heard myself say yes. Jason and I walked out of the airport hand in hand. I never thought I'd see Luke here. It was 5 a.m. He stood among the crowd waiting to pick people up, anxiously looking back and forth. It seemed he had been waiting for a long time. The moment he saw me walk out, his eyes reddened. He composed himself, and his gaze then fell on Jason's and my clasped hands. I couldn't discern the emotion in his eyes. I walked up to him, and he raised his hand as if to hug me. Then, realizing it wasn't appropriate, he subtly lowered it. I heard his voice, hoarse, say, "It's good that you're okay. It's good that you're okay." He seemed to have something he wanted to say. I sent Jason away, asking him to go to the parking lot to get the car first. He nodded, took my suitcase, and glanced at Luke before leaving. As soon as Jason was gone, he asked me, "Jennifer, why did you never tell me?" I didn't understand. Not until I saw the video my best friend sent him. Then it all clicked. That video documented my long, secret crush. She had captured countless moments with her phone. I silently walked behind Luke with my backpack. I filled my draft notebooks with his name. I told my best friend the news of my crush coming true. There was even a video from half a year ago, secretly recorded by a friend when I was drunk, crying and speaking that truth from my heart. Countless scenes meticulously depicted my grand and silent crush. This was the wedding gift my best friend had originally planned to give me. My eyes felt warm, but not because of Luke. I opened my phone. I saw her reply on WeChat. "Jennifer? You better not be hurt, damn it. It's all that bastard Luke's fault, otherwise you wouldn't be on this flight." She sent the wedding gift that never made it to me to Luke as a form of revenge. She told him my plane had crashed, deliberately stabbing him, not wanting him to have an easy time. If I couldn't land safely, she wanted him to live the rest of his life in unease. I exited the video call. Then I looked at Luke. I once pretended to casually approach him, hiding that youthful past. If there was no mutual affection between us, then my deep devotion would only be a burden to him. I never thought of using it to tie him down. This was the wedding gift she originally planned to give me. Later, the wedding was called off, so you didn't need to know. Sorry for disturbing you in the middle of the night. His gaze remained fixed on me. Jennifer, there's no such thing as disturbing between us. I never knew you liked me for so many years. If I had known many things earlier, perhaps... My phone suddenly rang, interrupting him. It was Jason calling. I was about to answer. Luke grabbed my wrist. He suddenly blurted out, "I broke up with her." He and Jessica had been entangled for so many years. In the end, it wasn't a happy ending. "You don't have to tell me." His eyes were deep. He had never looked at me like that before. "Jennifer, can you please not go with him?" I used to wish he would get jealous. I deliberately tested him, wanting him to care more about me. But his heart always remained as unmoving as a mountain. Now that he no longer had the right to be jealous or question, he started to care. Life always works out in unexpected ways. In early spring, he sent me the thick cotton coat I had wanted most that winter. But I had already traveled light. I pulled my hand out of his. I told him, "I'm with him now. Luke, go back." I saw Luke again a week later at the high school anniversary celebration. I was walking through the familiar campus when I ran into him. He was standing on the tall spiral staircase. Our eyes met. I immediately remembered the day I first saw him in freshman year. It was also at the bottom of this spiral staircase. I was wearing my brother's jacket, which my mother insisted I wear to save money. As I passed under the staircase, I heard a burst of laughter from the boys above. I looked back and saw Luke and a few boys standing on the stairs. "Luke, why is there a girl wearing your men's jacket?" "Ha ha ha! She's wearing men's clothes and still clashing with a girl." My face turned red. Luke smiled faintly and came to my rescue. "Haven't you seen unisex clothes? She looks better in it than I do. Come on, class is starting." That day, Luke was like a huge rock that fell into my heart. For many years after, it never moved an inch. Until I met my Sisyphus, he finally remembered, his eyes flickering slightly. "Jennifer, so we met in freshman year of high school." So it was that early. The school's anniversary celebration always had a fireworks display. The playground was packed with people. I looked up, intently watching the fireworks ascend and burst. I couldn't help but take a few photos with my phone and send them to Jason. Under the brilliant night sky, Luke's low voice came from beside me. "Your favorite author isn't Yasunari Kawabata. It's Marquez. You don't like fishing. You like photography. You prefer Spielberg's movies to Nolan's. You don't like spicy food. And you don't eat nuts. I'll keep you in my heart from now on. Jennifer, how about I come to you instead?" After breaking up and calling off the engagement, he started trying to approach me. Fireworks filled the night sky. "Luke, that last firework was actually our school name." He looked up. That firework had already dissipated, leaving no trace. "It's too late. I didn't see it." "You should have looked up sooner." He turned to look at me. His eyes held 1,000 words, but I choked them back, unable to speak. His smile was a little bitter. After the event, Luke offered to walk me home. I pointed to the car at the school gate. Jason was waiting by the car. Luke's eyes darkened. I got in the car and watched Luke turn and walk away. I had seen his back countless times, but it was the first time I had seen that figure so desolate. He always walked with a swagger. Today, for some reason, his steps were so slow. I watched him inch forward like a turtle, step by step. That figure faded into the evening breeze. 18-year-old Luke, in a white shirt, was a vibrant presence in my youth. 28-year-old Luke finally shed that white shirt and walked out of my life. The man beside me was already in a sour mood. He spoke with a hint of sarcasm. "What does it feel like to win the lottery but have it expire?" I chuckled lightly. "Never won, so I wouldn't know. But you should wash your car. It smells sour inside." He glanced at the rearview mirror. "Maybe that big G behind us just got washed. Want to switch cars?" I silently took his hand, my fingers sliding between his, intertwining with his. The evening breeze carried the scent of flowers in waves into the car. He curved his lips, finally falling silent. We've felt inferior. We've self-sabotaged, and timid secret admirers have hidden their feelings again and again. The fireworks of 18 years ago silently fizzled out in our hearts. Later, I wore flowing dresses, but it just so happened that when I arrived, it wasn't spring. It's okay. After enduring the harsh winter, we will always usher in a brilliant spring. Under the spring light, someone will be there to watch the sunset and the stars rise with you.